Good morning, gentlemen. Dosto, good morning. I'm going to talk today about a very hot topic. और आप जानते हो वो टॉपिक क्या है? That is the battle between Iran and Israel. आप एक बात याद रखिएगा कि one thing in mind, that war is an extension of the political aim. So if that is the definition of war, obviously both Israel and Iran would like to extend their political aims through military might. But here the drawback ends, in the sense the comparison between the two ends. And we have now to discuss what exactly is happening. As you all know, the start of the conflict was when Israel had bombed the Iranian embassy in Syria, with the result in Lebanon, with the result that some of the top generals were killed. And they were part of the Iranian Revolutionary Guards, that is the elite force. So Iran had vowed revenge, and they set about doing everything the way they wanted it. And after a lot of threatening noises, obviously they couldn't back down. And despite the American putting pressure on them, not attack, they did carry out an attack with some 330 rockets. Now, as a student of military history, I can tell you that this attack was a total failure, a big zero. Because almost all the missiles, I think other than one, which went and hit some odd area, were destroyed. And Israel had the support of the air forces of France and England and the United States. So ये सब साथ में थी उसके, they were with them, and obviously the attack fizzled out. I think it was a bit of a shock to the Iranians, but militarily, I will say this attack was an absolute, big zero. Now, Israel was under pressure because everybody got to show face. Americans, of course, as I've already made a video and told you all, are not really interested in confronting Iran at the moment because they're tied up in Ukraine and they have a greater danger facing them in the Eastern Pacific, that is China. So their priorities are different. They don't want to get involved with Iran in this conflict here, and they probably pass a message to Iran also that we don't want a conflict with you. But then the Iranians didn't listen to them, and they still went ahead with the attack on Israel, and Israel was forced has to respond. Now, Americans and the British perhaps didn't want to support Israel, but at the same time, they didn't want to dissuade Israel, and they gave all the intelligence to Israel. अब मेरी जो खबर ये है कि Israelis mounted a limited attack on 2 or 3 centers in the heart of Iran. उनका पर्पस एक ही था. They had only one purpose, to show that we can also retaliate. And militarily, I think the Iranians could not intercept the F-16s and the whatever missiles were launched by the Israelis. There have been reports of explosions all over Isfahan province, where they have the nuclear facilities also. Of course, it has been confirmed that the nuclear facilities were not touched. Yes. And that was more by design than accident, because Israel did not want to escalate the conflict. At the same time, the Israeli war cabinet was very keen that there should be some deterrence, because people should realize that attacking Israel is not going to be a joke. In fact, the chief of the Israeli army has gone on record and said that we have to teach a lesson to anybody who attacks us, come what may, that bombing or attacking Israel is a very costly proposition, and they should not dare to do it again. So far, there has been a limited assault, and Iran, I think, has made a statement that we are not going to respond to it. And they have claimed we shot down all the missiles and rockets and all that, but that is not actually what happened. The Iranian defenses were in poor shape. Most of the aircraft with the Iranian Air Force are 1979 onwards, earlier vintage. And the Russian aircraft and the weaponry which came after 1990 has not been properly utilized. And the Iranian Air Force is the weak link in this entire scenario. And even if today Iran did have a nuclear bomb, they do not have the delivery system. And until you have that, it's meaningless. But as it stands at the moment, Israel has made it very clear, gentlemen, that it's not going to brook any nonsense. And Netanyahu, in his war cabinet, I think, are meeting a lot of people in the war cabinet are saying that we must teach Iran a lesson and attack Iran wholeheartedly. So, in my view, the war has not ended, and now the Americans have carried out an attack on the Syrian militia, which is part of the Iranian militia, the supporters of Iran, and quite a few of them have been killed. And Iran says it's an attack on us. But one thing I think I've not been able to understand the Iranian policy until unless you build up military might, economic might. I don't think you really can challenge the United States or anybody. And in one of my earlier videos, I made it very clear that Russia is not going to intervene on behalf of Iran. Russia has already got its hands full in Ukraine. And thankfully, they are now winning. And the American Chief of Staff has confirmed that the Russians have the upper hand. And America has got this digression now with Israel, because Israel is something which America cannot neglect. And Iran is something which they cannot accept. Because after the Shah was thrown out, the Americans did make overtures to the Ayatollah Khomeini regime, but everything went for a punt when the close to 100 Americans who had diplomatic immunity and all that were captured and kept as hostage. And then there was a rescue effort when Jimmy Carter was president, but that came to a big zero. Nothing happened, and it had to be called off. And then further, the humiliation was much more, because the Americans had to pay millions of dollars as ransom money before they could get their diplomats back. So the status quo has continued since then, and though the two sides often meet in Switzerland and exchange ideas and things, but the fact remains there is no diplomatic representation by America in Tehran for the last almost 45 years or even more. So, gentlemen, the war is, the Middle East is just hotting up, because despite the Iranian attack on Israel, the Israelis are hell bent for leather and they're smashing into Gaza. And now, bear in mind that this attack which Israel carried out with the F-16 overflew the territories of Lebanon, then they overflew Jordan, Iraq, and then went and attacked Iran. And the very fact that they attacked Isfahan, which is in the center of Iran, is itself a tribute. It's not on the border or somewhere on the sea where it's easy to attack. They've gone in the hinterland of Iran and attacked that place. That shows two things: excellent logistics, excellent intelligence, and lethal weaponry, both with ECM and ECCM measures. It just about shows, and the Iranis must have realized that if the Israelis had chosen to attack the nuclear installation, the nuclear sets of Iran, I don't think Iran had anything to do. It could not have stopped them. But the Israelis do not want to escalate the conflict at the moment, but at the same time they like to teach Iran a lesson. So this has been a limited strike. But I don't think this is going to be the last word, because the war cabinet is meeting, and now you see there's an old saying, that Pandora's box was open and all the hills came out. And this is what happened. Pandora's box is open. I don't know whether it's going to be a fairy who's going to come and solve the problem. That's what happened that time. But as it stands now, the battle between Iran and Israel is not over. Again, I think we must bear in mind, politically, if you look at it, the Muslim world is divided. Nobody is supporting Iran wholeheartedly. Even Pakistan is not making 100% support to Iran. and neither Saudi Arabia, neither Jordan, Egypt, and we haven't heard much about any sport. And the fact remains that the Jordanian Air Force also was airborne to intercept the drones which were being launched from Iran. Now, I think that should be a bit of a shock to the Iranians, but then that is part of the Muslim world. They are not united because everybody has his own vision, his own way to go forward. Like Saudi Arabia, modernizing, wanting to go forward, not back. While Iran is doing Qadam Talwin, staying in the same place, just marching up and down and talking of world revolution and all that. And the only person I think who's on their side is Turkey. But the Turks have got a lot of soldiers, almost 2,000-3,000 American soldiers in Turkey. And one of the most important bases that the Incirlik Air Base has vital American assets stored there, including nuclear weapons. So, gentlemen, Turkey on its own cannot act or do anything. That is something we must remember is that when it comes to the crunch, the United States can still call back a lot of its enemies, a lot of its supporters, in the Middle East. Americans have troops all over, right from Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Syria, Turkey, UAE, they're all spread over. And the Americans had been threatened by Iran that we would attack and destroy your bases if the war continues or you come on the side of Israel. But I don't think it's working out that way. The Iranians have also been very careful because if you attack American assets repeatedly, you're going to get into a serious problem. America may be economically weak at the moment, but it's not going to continue like that. And a dying man catches a straw. If the Americans are going to feel threatened, they're the world's number one superpower, they can act. American policy has been very, very faulty. I think they're very short-sighted that they couldn't think of a Russia-China axis. Well, I'll talk about that later. But as things stand at the moment, as far as the war between Iran and Israel is concerned, this is just the first round. It is like the boxing match with Muhammad Ali, that is Cassius Clay, and Joe Frazier. They fought to the last round. So it's going to be something like that, and we have to wait and see what happens further. I'm not very certain about it, but I'm pretty certain that the war is not going to end and Israel is not going to be defeated. Why it won't be defeated is because many Arab nations secretly do sympathize with Israel, and I don't think they have come out openly against Iran. And many of the countries, the Arabic countries, are not too happy with Iran. Iran wants to be the leader of the Muslim world, but it's a Shia country, and I think that is where the shoe pinches. So, gentlemen, I think I'll close now. The Israelis have mounted a successful assault, but I think it was a token battle, really, something to carry the flag and show why we can do all this. And I don't think anything more was expected. And unless the Israelis launch another bigger attack, I think there's a possibility that Iran would also just carry out with verbal rhetoric and not mount an attack further. As I told you, the Iranian Air Force is a weak link, and I don't think they'll be able to sustain or stop an attack from Israel. Gentlemen, I think I'll close now. I hope you like my video. Share it with your friends. Come back for more. In the meanwhile, I'll say goodbye. God bless. Take care.